Hello, I'm Mark Shashua, the CEO of I2I Events Group, and I'm delighted to welcome you to one in a series of videos that we have developed in partnership with the UK Trade and Investment. Our aim is to provide insight and guidance to help you assess whether exporting is right for your business, and if it is, what you need to think about to successfully grow sales in overseas markets. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague, Matt Crabtree, who will go into this in more detail.
A recent study by Aston University revealed that companies who trade overseas are more productive and innovative than non-exporters. They're more resilient to an economic downturn. They achieve stronger financial performance, they have a higher profile and more credibility, and they're simply more likely to stay in business. So, what's not to like? If these reasons don't compel you to hear more, you should click stop right now and get back to your UK business. Now, assuming we've still got you, then what I'd like to now share are 5 key tips that will enable you to take the practical steps toward having customers who pay you in euros, dollars, yen and renminbi. So, tip number 1, know before you go. Do your market research. First up, you need to carry out some market research to identify and evaluate your target market. This, of course, requires you to pick some target countries to do research on. Now, it's tempting here to go with English-speaking markets like North America or Australia or Canada, but be aware of the obvious. These are huge markets, and depending on your product, that might not help you to undertake effective research, as the North American market, for example, has every conceivable market and type of consumer within it. You might find that looking at a few small European markets like the Nordics or Eastern European countries allows you to dip your toe into the world of international trade without drowning in hundreds of millions of people. It really depends on what you do and your ability to just think a bit laterally. Now, once you've chosen a target market or two, get online and find out just how much information is available with nothing more than a popular search engine and a determination to find out what you need. Also look out for market reports relevant to your product category. Most will size the market in a particular country and give valuable indications as to potential growth rates, opportunities and threats facing that market. Written by specialist market research firms, these typically cost just a few £100, a small price to pay for making sure you're armed with all the facts, figures, opportunities and potential pitfalls. Different companies specialise in different markets, but you can expect a market report to contain information about the structure of the industry. Are there lots of small companies in the market, or is it dominated by a small number of larger firms? Sales volumes and trends for your product category. Company profiles of the key players already in the market, helping you to understand how you will position yourself amongst them. Now, of course, research from behind a computer screen will only tell you so much. But how can you find out more about the business conditions in a new market without actually visiting them? Well, you could choose to visit an international trade show to deepen your knowledge by talking to exhibitors and networking with attendees from around the world. Now, UKTI has a Meet the Buyer program. It runs at many major international trade shows, and this is where they allow your business to connect directly with buyers from across the globe. Face-to-face research like this with potential customers is an incredibly valuable way to get feedback on your product and understand what level of opportunity there might be. Tip number 2, planning your flight path. Tailor your marketing strategy for the local market. So, you've done your homework and you've decided to go for it. Congratulations, the first step is over. Next, though, you'll need to devise your marketing strategy for entering that market. How will you position your product or service alongside the existing competitors? And how will your business be differentiated from these existing players? Does your product or service offer something genuinely unique to the existing alternatives? If not, how else will you differentiate from them? Do you plan to compete on price, speed of delivery, service, or maybe even payment terms? Now here you'll also need to consider any modifications you might need to make to your offering to tailor it to local market conditions, tastes and critically laws. Your market research and discussions with potential distributors and buyers should have helped to inform this, but you'll definitely want to start by answering these 3 questions about your product as you develop your marketing strategy to start exporting. Number 1, how does my product or service meet customer preferences in the target market? Number 2, Will it meet the necessary standards and regulations in the local market? Now, the British Standards Institution offers support for exporters on this, so they're well worth checking out. And 3, what additional costs will there be in adapting my product or service for suitability in the target market? And how might this impact future profitability? Preparing for landing. Choosing the right sales and distribution model. So, you've established that the market is there and you have a marketing strategy tailored for the target market. But what about sales and distribution? How will you physically get your products and services into the marketplace, and who will be responsible for selling them once they're there? Will you perhaps have a physical presence in the country through establishing something like your own sales office, or indeed partnering in a joint venture or a subsidiary style company? Now, these can be expensive and they are potentially complicated options, especially if you're not entirely sure of the level of market opportunity for your product or service. But there are more flexible options. You might consider using a local agent or distributor to act on your behalf. Now, here's how these two approaches differ. An agent would typically work on a commission basis, taking responsibility for selling products and services on your behalf, winning orders and being the local point of contact for collecting payments and dealing with any problems. Although the agent might hold stocks of your product, the ownership of the goods remains with you, as does the responsibility and risk of any profit or loss. A distributor, on the other hand, would generally purchase goods from your business and sell them on your behalf at a profit. They take the responsibility and risk for any further profit or loss, as the ownership of the goods transfers to them once the sales transaction is complete. Now, agreements with potential distributors can be structured in a wide number of ways, and that does include exclusivity that allows the distributor to be the sole distributor in a particular territory. Now, different models will suit different businesses and different export markets, so make sure you consider all the options thoroughly and get as much advice as you possibly can. Now, this is where UKTI's network of country specialists come into their own. They're located around the world and they can offer invaluable advice for companies either selling overseas for the first time or indeed for those who are experienced but they're looking to break into other new markets. Whichever business model you choose, having the right financial resources in place, along with an understanding of export payment mechanisms and export finance, is really vital. Now, most businesses and commercial banks in the UK have a specialist international or trade finance department, so speak to them first to get specialist input into your planning. Tip 4, mind your language. Last but by no means least, you should plan for how you will overcome any language and cultural barriers to doing business with your target market. Every market is different and it needs to be treated as such. Local traditions, ways of doing business and etiquette can sometimes differ in different regions of the same country. So always remember not to generalise, or your lack of awareness of these sensitive issues could seriously impact your business success. Although many parts of the world consider English to be an international language of business, being able to speak the language of your potential customers can help to demonstrate both respect and mutual confidence in your commitment to build sustainable business relationships in that country. Now, if you don't speak the local language, you could consider employing a translator or a local interpreter to assist with negotiations or indeed market research in the local language. But of course, if you plan to use promotional material and product information in the local market, make sure it's translated into the local language and is proofread by a native speaker. Avoid jargon and colloquialisms that could easily get lost in translation or, worse still, are embarrassing when translated into the local language. In this short video, we've briefly touched upon a number of things you need to consider when thinking about growing your business overseas. Number 1, know before you go. Number 2, plan your flight path. And number 3, prepare for landing. Finally, mind your language. Now, clearly there is so much more to consider than we've been able to squeeze into this short video, but help is at hand. For starters, you can download the UKTI's Exporting for Growth, Your Guide to Getting Started brochure. You'll find a link to this in the description section just below this video. You can also find a wide range of help, information and resources at the UKTI's website, which is at ukti.gov.uk. Think of this as your window into a global network of 2,400 UKTI staff in 96 markets around the world that are on hand to help your business to overcome the barriers to new overseas business opportunities. So, how far will you go to grow your business? All that's left for me to say is thanks for watching, and I wish you the very, very best of luck as you go further than ever to grow your business.